So a few months ago, I got the golden ticket, an invitation to use the one and only DALL-E 2, an AI software designed to spit out works of art and win art competitions apparently. Anyway, AI art has been all the rage right now, and at the time the results that were being spat out and highlighted were absolutely mind-blowing. But when I tried it, they were rather mixed, with results that were okay at best. So I thought I'd challenge the bot to work with me, using a prompt I got for a commission over a year ago now, to see what we could come up with together. Looking over my options, I was drawn to option 2 as it had the most potential despite its raw and unpolished state. I noticed it had a lot of bad habits just like I do. It gives a half-assed attempt at a background, it's a bit sloppy with its brushwork, and it really sucks at hands, so you know, probably not that different AI and I. But it's okay, we got something to work with. I got my work cut out for me, but that's absolutely fine. So first I begin with sketching over the original image, really focusing on a lot of the problem areas such as the hands, because it's rubbish, and begin building out the face. I wanted to kind of redo the face, make the eyes a bit bigger, more in line with the way I normally draw. I brought the lips up as well as kind of redoing the nose. It's a bit of a shame actually, because I do actually like the way the AI had generated the face, because it's more elongated and quite expressive, and some of that was lost when I did that redraw, but overall, it's the way I draw. So continuing on, start moving on to the body now, and although I understood the kind of proportions it was going for, as I tried to build it up in the way that I understand anatomy, it didn't quite make sense. It didn't have a proper three-dimensional structure, so I ended up lowering the shoulders, moving the arms a bit, just so it just all came together in a more natural way. It made the overall tension of the image a bit more relaxed than it originally was, but I just couldn't get my head around what the AI had kind of thrown together. So now I'm just kind of continuing with the hands, really trying to get it a bit better, because hands are quite difficult, and I'm just working on the overall image, adding some glasses. I redid the hair because I kind of knew what it was, but then the forehead wasn't making much sense, so I added a headband. I thought that was a nice accessory to give the girl to kind of like make her feel a bit more relaxed in her own environment, and I just kind of added more for the gown. Now, an interesting thing about using AI as a reference, because a lot of the work had actually been done for me in terms of coming up with the concept, it started making me ask questions about the character. Where is her environment? Where is she? What's her room like? What kind of thing? What book is she reading? So I really wanted to add what the AI was missing, because the background at the minute is rather abstract, and I wanted a more grounded representation of where she is. So initially I tried drawing out a bed, quickly abandoned that because I wasn't too sure what I was doing. Tried looking up a few references and then opted to bring one in, trace it to get a general perspective, and then just kind of went from there. I wanted to suggest a few things about her personality, implying them using objects and placements of certain objects. By having a lamp by her bedside, that would suggest that she enjoyed reading, especially at night, just before going to sleep. And by having a plant, you know, she's very in tune with nature and maybe spirituality and stuff. So all these kind of things really did come into play with making the background feel more lived in, and I'm kind of happy how it all ties together to elevate and elaborate on who this character truly is. So the original line work by the AI was rather uniform, which, although it's fine, it's not the most interesting thing to look at. So for my variant, I actually opted to vary the line width. Although still keeping it relatively thick compared to other line art that you would see in other pieces. I'm a fan of comic book and graffiti styles, and I thought for this, it would be rather fitting to go with that route. Now for the last stage of this, it is the rendering. I was in two minds. I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep the image as flat as the original one was, but when I looked closer, I did notice that there are some attempts of shading, but it's very not really committed. So there's a lot of shading in the gown, which shows how shiny it is, but when it comes to the face, it's relatively flat. So unless you look for it, you might not actually be able to tell where the highlight was. So I decided I'm going to push it in the way that I would normally push my drawings, have the lighting come from one side of the character and some lighting from behind, and I really just kind of go through that, adding some textured brushes for the hair, more blended approach for the skin, and adding a lot of contrast for the shadows that way, because it's already a darker skinned character, so I wanted contrast between the light and the dark, so even though she's darker, she still grabs your attention and you're still looking into her face. At this point, I was looking at the picture and I was liking how it was more or less coming together, but I noticed that the hair just needed a bit more detailing, so I grabbed the texture brush and just added a bit more frizz to it to give it a bit more volume, a bit more life. Similarly, I wanted a bit more texture to the scarf, so I found a pattern that I could photo bash in, which seemed like the kind of thing that was in line with the character's personality. Now I'm starting to get a little bit lost in the detailing. I got carried away with adding the black everywhere to thicken the outlines, but it was becoming really messy, really distracting. So in order to bring it back, I didn't want to actually get rid of the thickness that I added. Instead, I decided to use highlight color to add a rim light effect to the gown and still have that separation between the foreground and the background. Because everything being more or less pink, there wasn't much separation before going through this process. For the background, I opted to just do some basic cell shading. I wanted it to be complementary to the main component of the piece, which was the girl, rather than distracting. Stepping back from the piece a bit, I noticed it just needed a little bit more polish. I added a rim light around her hair. I thought that was a bit of the colouring that was missing. I also cleaned up a few of the details. The eyebrows I stuck too closely to what the AI had made, and it kind of went off into the distance, I don't know where. So I had to bring that back down and just round off the head, because once I had finally flipped it, which I should have done from the beginning, it just was looking a little bit asymmetrical and not in a good way. So I really wanted to use this piece to really go out of my comfort zone. It's been an opportunity to put a little extra thought into my backgrounds, mess around with colors I'd usually avoid, and trying a few extra techniques. So here's the final drawing. Overall, AI is a powerful tool, although I probably won't be relying on it. However, I can definitely see the potential and appreciate its contribution to artists.
That is, when it's not trying to weasel its way into the industry by infringing on the copyrights of others, further devaluing the craft by democratizing art. What does that even mean?